Welcome to the emotional spiral. I love this spiral and you will too, because when you understand your emotional spiral, you can then stop spinning out into a dark depression. You can get yourself up and out of these spirals. I love them also because if you have a family member or you live with people or close friends, you can call each other out because it's so predictable. Your emotional patterns are so predictable. And when you understand the predictability of these emotional spirals, it's like, to me, it was like my freedom to not being able to be, strangled by these emotions that I thought I had no control over. But really, you have full control over these emotions when you understand how predictable you are. You just have to figure out how to get ahead of the emotion to stick your trigger in there. So, for example, what happens is so this is what happened to me. I was going out, I come from a big family, a family of 5 kids, and my mom is the coolest mom ever. I don't know how lucky I was to be able to have such an awesome mom, but blessed I am. I have the most amazing mom. But yet I have to share her with 5 other siblings. And that's, then all of a sudden, and she has her time on her own, and my mom and dad have been married and they still are married. So I don't really get a lot of alone time with my mom, and it's my sacred time. I love and treasure alone time with my mom. So she called me up and she said, "Hey, Kerry, let's go to a yoga class and also go out to lunch together." And I was thinking, oh, how awesome. Let's go do yoga and go to lunch. I'm in. So I met her at the yoga class. We did yoga next to each other and we were laughing and it's super fun. And then we were packing up our stuff and going out to lunch, which was across the street. And there was a bunch of ladies coming with us. And inside I was thinking, wait, that's not really what I wanted. I wanted to be alone with my mom. I wanted to be able to connect with her. I hadn't seen her in a little while. So what happened? I threw myself into the emotional spiral, my emotional spiral, and I threw in to sadness. So sadness, all of a sudden, what happens to sadness is you get loose. You kind of feel like, no hope. Like, I was so excited. Do you ever feel like, there's no hope and you had expectations and no one's filling those expectations and it was really simple. I just wanted to go to lunch. It was so sad for me. So I was like tretching behind everyone, going to lunch, and then finally, I don't stay loose for very long. I don't stay in sadness for very long. The opposite of loose is tight. I started getting tight. Well, from sadness of loose to getting tight, where do you think I go? What emotion comes next? You're sad, you start getting tight. You can feel the energy building from within. You start getting a little bit more upright. Where did I go? I went from sadness to frustration and anger. I was pissed. So I said, you know what? Hey, you guys, I just realized I lied. I just realized that I forgot about an appointment. So you guys go have fun at lunch and I'll catch you later. Is that true? No, I totally lied, which I don't feel good about doing those types of things. But I was so in my emotional spiral that I just wanted out of that situation. Now, I went into my car and I cried. I was tight, I was frustrated. I went in, I sat down and I loosened up. I went into self-pity and sadness and I cried. I was like, I never see my mom. I love my mom. I really wanted to connect with her. And then I would get frustrated and I would get sad and I'd get angry and I would get self-pity. And this circle, loose, I'd get tight and I'd loose and get tight. This is when I woke up. It was all a matter of 10 minutes of going through this cycle. And I stopped and I was like, holy crap, this is so predictable. I can't believe that I'm going from frustration to sadness to anger to self-pity and all these things so quickly. Who's in control of what? So what happens is you can exit out of your emotional spiral by doing destructive distractions. For example, you can go shopping, right? So you're in your spiral, you're in your house and you're frustrated, and you can go shop. Do you ever find yourself when you're in a destructive self pattern that you go exercise, that you go eat, that you go drink? Some people use sex. But whatever that distraction is, now people are going to say, well, it's more effective than being in the pattern. And yes, I agree. Except that as soon as you walk back into your house, guess what's waiting? The tornado of emotional spiral. And what I don't want is to go do a destructive distraction and come back into the tornado of hell. I'm not interested in that. I want to be able to look at it and not go, if I was to go back out to lunch and just fake it to make it, to go sit with the ladies and eat, which would have been fine, but I don't want to come back in my car into the tornado of hell of emotional spiral down. So I could have chosen to go sit at lunch. I didn't. I sat there, and what I did was I faced it. I looked at it. And what does that mean? I closed my eyes, literally, and I started watching the sadness. And I asked my heart to just feel. Now, this is going to sound crazy, and this is going to sound totally off the wall. But I can tell you, if you understand and you embrace what I'm saying, it's your freedom to get out of these emotional spirals. So I looked at it and I was like, gosh, I'm really sad. What's the trigger of sadness? And I sat there and I closed my eyes. I could feel myself sadness. And I said to myself, when was the first time I felt this sadness? And I was 5 years old. And why did that memory come up? I don't know. It has nothing to do with anything. But I was 5 years old and I was left out. I was left abandoned is how I felt, and left to figure it out for myself. Not because I wasn't loved and cared about, because I totally was. And no one around me even understands what I'm talking about, because that was my internal dialogue. I was in a big family. I had a lot of personal survival. I didn't have one-on-one attention. I wasn't an only child. Not that I needed it, because my independence is created for who I am today. And I love my brothers and sisters dearly. But as a child, I felt a little left out. And let me ask you, do you ever feel left out? Do you ever feel like no one understands you? Maybe that's the Mimi stage. That's kind of awakening, isn't it? So when you understand that your emotional spiral is on what stage, you also can free yourself. Seeing how these frameworks are starting to build on each other. Starting to pay attention to the camaraderie and to the understanding of how each framework really overlaps each other. So let's go back into the car. I was crying. I looked at it and I faced it. I said, when was the earliest time I felt like this? I was 5. I felt left out. Okay, as soon as I realized that this was a 5-year-old having a temper tantrum, a sad temper tantrum, really what I did was I started laughing, because I wasn't going to allow myself to go to the next predictable emotion, which was frustration. So what I chose to do was I laughed at it. And I was like, wow, this is so funny. I want to open my heart to feeling left out and really see if this is a truth. I opened my heart and I was visualizing my heart opening. And all of a sudden, I started laughing even harder, because listen to this truth. My mom invited all these women to lunch because she was so proud of me. This chokes me up and I almost want to cry, because she brought these women to lunch because she was so proud of this business that I've created, because she knows how powerful and how much it means to me and how much it's going to make a difference in the world. She brought these ladies to let me know what a difference I'm making in their lives. What did I do? I pushed them away because I felt left out. Because my internal dialogue was destructive. Is that serving anyone? No. I took away the opportunity from these ladies to give gratitude. I took away from these ladies the opportunity to tell me that I'm doing a good job, because it makes them feel good too. I took away from the most important person in my life, my mom, the opportunity to give unconditional love. I was conditioning it. That is a wake-up call. That is a destructive emotional spiral. I'm not into it. I'm not into these emotional spirals. I think they're destructive. I think they ruin your life. And the most important thing is we're responsible for them. I was responsible for the spiral. So what ended up happening is I actually got out of the car because I saw the truth of what was going on. And I ended up going to lunch and finishing eating lunch with all the ladies. And it was the most gratifying lunch I've ever had. The coolest part about this story, none of the ladies ever knew what happened to me. It was one of the biggest personal growth experiences I had. I was able to nail my emotional spirals of what was taking me down, and I haven't had them since. Now, I jump in to the emotional spiral to go play the destructive game, but as soon as I am in, I can see it. So I'm loose. I'm not going to allow myself to get tight, so you can stop it on the physical level. You can stop it in the mental game of going, when did I feel this like this before? And why? You can stop it in the mental game. That's a difficult game to get into, by the way, so tread with caution. But it's easier just to say in the physical body, am I loose? Okay, well, if I'm loose and I'm sad and feeling self-pity, the next one's going to be frustration and anger or somewhere along those lines, and you're going to get tight. And when you get tight, you got energy and you're going to fight. And you're going to stand up for something that maybe isn't so true. Because it wasn't true in the situation where I thought I was being left out again. But I was damn sure that's what was happening. It wasn't. It wasn't. Pretty cool. So these are the emotional spirals. So you can go down with destructive things. This is temporary satisfaction, long-term. This is short-term gain, long-term pain. Shopping, exercising, overeating, drinking, sex, anything that distracts you, but when you go walk back into your home, the tornado is waiting for you just to jump right back in. Or you can face it. So I hope that this emotional spiral helps you. There's homework in it, and what I ask you to do is identify your emotional spirals. Where do you jump in? Is it mainly sadness? Is it mainly frustration? Why? When did you first feel it? Why did you first feel it? What do you get from it? There's something you get from that. So jump in to your spiral in your head and try to figure out and master that spiral so it doesn't have to happen again. So you can face it and lift yourself up and out. Now remember, your birth responsibility is to love your life, to live it to the full potential. So as always, be bright, be beaming, be beautiful, but most important, be you. Now go out there and live a life to love.